Episode 54. Will these comics make good film and television shows? We got Batman and Robin. We got The Madness by J. Michael Straczynski. And we have Blood Commandment. Check it all out right now. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. I am your host, Frank Zanca. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer. Recently moved to Atlanta from Los Angeles and looking forward to starting a new piece of my career here because normally I do line producing. That's my normal job, of which I have not had in 6 months due to the strikes. So anyway, let's jump right into Batman and Robin by DC Comics, and this is by Joshua Williamson. Thank God they changed the artist because they had this, this splash page type of this splash coloring that they'd done. It almost looks like watercolor. Just really wasn't working for me. So thankfully they changed it, and this storyline is continuation of where the Gotham War was. That made no sense because according to Catwoman there was no crime at all, but yet the White Rabbit had kidnapped someone, and this kind of moved into this Shush villain that has no relation to Hush. I don't know why they didn't come up with a new villain. They had to take another one and change the gender of it for whatever reason. It just shows unoriginality, unfortunately. But what's good about this book, because I've dropped every other book. I don't read Chip Zdarsky's book anymore. The Ram V. I like Ram V when he was doing Catwoman, but he was doing Detective. He was just too weird. It was all just a little too weird. So this is the only Batman book I'm getting right now, and it's the reason is that Damian and Bruce have a good dynamic. He's had good dynamics with some of the other characters, but I think that there's such a juxtaposition because it's his real son, but this guy's also a handful. So anyway, we figure out that he sends Damian to high school, and he's not having any of it. So, but he goes, but he also realizes, and this is where it kind of gets, a little bit too convenient for the story, that his principal is also one of his ex-teachers from martial arts, stuff like that, in the Middle East, right? Because that's where the Ra's al Ghul stuff, that his whole compound with the Assassin's Guild and everything else, that's all in the Middle East. So it's kind of pushing it that this happened to be in Gotham, and you don't become, principal overnight. So she's been working for decades. So it really can't be a setup. So I'm kind of really wondering where this is even going. But anyway, they want to try to do some surveillance work. So we have these girls down the bottom going, "Oh my God, he's so handsome, blah, blah, blah." And you think they're talking about Damian, but they're not. They're actually talking about Bruce, and he's, being a parent during one of these events during the weekend or whatever. I guess there's, some kind of a soccer thing going on. And so he's there, not only supporting Damian and his class, but also he's there to investigate and to see if there was anything. Then we do this flashback of the previous night, and they're following this Orca character who's actually a female. And this is also where it gets kind of weird, because you could see that he's got a rebreather on, right? And he's talking. How is he talking with the rebreather in his mouth? He is very multi-talented. Take that as you wish. So we get that cool shot of them jumping up and them taking down Orca, and of course asking this whole shush question. But that's really not where this issue kind of shines. The issue shines more in the high school side. So there's the principal, the blonde, and Damian is watching her, and he's on the side making drawings and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Bruce is talking to one of his teachers, and they're talking about the fact of how intelligent Damien is, but he gets, he doesn't focus. And Bruce is like, yeah, I know he's intelligent, and I like that he's he's not putting the kid down and all that stuff. And of course, we're in high school, so we have to have the bullies, and we have this whole soccer thing going on. And then I guess this girl that kind of likes him intervenes and stuff like that, and of course he has no game. So, it doesn't go well. Plus, the principal ends up being the soccer coach. So, he's like, all right, well, obviously for me to get closer to the principal, I should get on the team. So, that's what he does. He just ups and puts on a thing during these tryouts. And plus, he's got the bully there they've already set up, which I kind of like. Because, we're not meeting the bully in the middle of this. We met him before. And he does this, very anime-looking kick here. And he's shocked to see that the goalie actually catches it. We get this very anime face. And they're all, patting him on the back. But this gives Damien kind of a red light to what this guy is. And the fact that he had blocked it, he sees something in him. So he's like, yeah, we've watched the principal forever, and nothing's going on with the principal. And he's like, well, maybe I've been looking in the wrong place. And he's like, and Batman's like, the goalie? And he's like, yeah, the goalie. Let's go take a look because I just have a hunch. We get this splash page of his previous teachers, and they, he jumps off to go follow the goalie, and when they follow the goalie, he's like, yeah, Damien, you may be right. And we get this splash page at the end of the goalie, which I guess they can't see right now, but I guess they're going to investigate it. And I guess he's related to Victor Zsasz, who is a serial killer. It says it was a good day father, so obviously it's the son of Victor Zsasz. So, I'm liking this. It's definitely a different take on Batman and Robin because I don't think that with Tim or with Dick we ever got to see this whole side of high school or anything to that effect. Tim was always very responsible, and I don't think that Dick, I don't know if he ever went to school ever. I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing him in school. College, yes. I remember seeing him in college, but never in high school. So I like this. I like this direction. And would it make a good film or television show? I don't know if this particular story, but having a high school attachment to Batman and Damien, I think that would work in a film. Yeah, I think that element would. This whole shush thing, no, not really, but this whole thing with the actual portion of connecting it to high school in some way, having maybe a group of assassins following him into high school, could possibly work. All right, so let's move on to the madness. This is issue 6 of 6. This is the end. This is by J. Michael Straczynski, who did Babylon 5, among other things. And so he does, he's done a bunch of stuff that's on television. So he's well aware of what makes a good screenplay and what doesn't. So this is a revenge story through and through. So it's about a supervillain who can only use one superpower. She has a group of superpowers, but she can only use one at a time, which doesn't make any sense because she crashes through a wall while she's flying, so she's using flying and invulnerability, so you're already breaking your own rules. So, but discounting that. So we find out that she had an imaginary friend, and it comes out to protect her, and when she was younger, and this is what we call the madness side of her. So now, so she does her last job, and I guess the government sends us, because she has super hearing and stuff like that, so they don't want to hear her, a plane coming. So they send a superhero to drop a bomb on her house. Unfortunately, her husband and or one of the guys she's seeing, I don't know if they were married, but I'm just going to say husband, and his kids are in there, and they kill them. She's not even in there. I think she's walking up to the house at the time, so she turns on their invulnerability, and of course she doesn't get hurt. But meanwhile, they're decimated. The house is decimated. So she spends the rest of the 6 issues going after everybody who was involved, and this other side of her is coming out, and it's, all, pale face with, red eyes and, black lipstick and stuff like that. So it looks kind of crazy. So one of the last people that she killed was this thing called a Jinn. So it's like a genie, but I guess that every time they get a totem, they kill the one previous, and then this dragon gets, bonded to them based on that. So she killed the last one, so now she has in possession of this dragon who's telepathically communicating with her, and she's like, no, it's going to get too dangerous, so you can just go. So I really like this side of it, because it's almost like the genie from Aladdin, where she's just like, I don't want you with me because I'm going into a suicide mission, and you just need to go. And of course the dragon just goes away, and then the madness, she sees her as a disembodied thing, so it's, she's standing in front of her. But then we learn in this that it's not an imaginary friend, it's actually an entity, which I'm not really a fan of. I feel like if you're going to create the rules in 5 of these issues, then at the very end you're going to change the rules. Not a fan of that. So anyway, the entity says, I don't want to die. I spent, I think she said centuries, but even if it's decades, searching for a new host, and then I saw you, and I bonded with you, and blah, 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 but I don't want to die. And she's like, yeah, you don't have to. This is my deal. If you want to bolt, go ahead and bolt. And, and that's why we get this whole, facial thing where looks like she's undecided. And so I like the art in this. I think the art's pretty good. And in effect, she leaves. So the girl is by herself. And then we get the other superheroes that are regretting, this whole thing. But they're like, well, we can take her, no problem. There's no reason to be scared, and the whole bit. So, and he's like, well, I didn't know the kids were in the house, etc., etc. And we get, this splash page of them continuing to talk. So you kind of almost feel bad for them until later on. So she's back, and then they find out she's back in one of the houses, I guess, that they had, where she first met her husband. And so she's picking through some stuff that I guess she's let it get in disarray. So she's spending time in there, and they said, screw it, we're not going to wait for her to come to us, we're going to go to her. So that's what this scene is them coming down. They crash through the house, and they proceed to beat the crap out of her. And they're almost mocking her, saying, I was scared to begin with, but now that I see, I can't believe you killed all these guys because you ain't nothing. And he says, I don't have any regrets because you were a bad guy, so I have no problem killing anybody, collateral damage around you. So now I don't feel bad for these guys. So she's taking all these punches. She's got a black eye, etc. And, he's like, I'm going to squeeze the life out of you, the whole bit. And then we get this kind of a flash of everything that's kind of been put together up to this point about this bomb and the whole thing. And I guess she set a trap for them, and she knew she wasn't going to make it out, so this was the deal from the beginning. And she basically gives a command to Siri to blow up the bomb. And she's like, hey, Siri, boom. And the thing replies, okay, boom. So it's some kind of a nuclear explosion, and the whole thing gets destroyed and the whole bit, and she's like, and the superheroes get basically disintegrated, and she's ready to get disintegrated herself. And all of a sudden, the entity or whatever comes out of nowhere and embraces her, and I guess it sacrifices itself for her. See, that's what the problem is. I don't know what the rules are, because you just brought this up in the 9th hour here. And he should know better. You don't bring in a whole new thing in the 9th hour to make your hero live. It doesn't work that way. So I wasn't happy with that. But then I guess it's later on, and she's back to normal, and she sees the president talking shit. So what he says is that there was some kind of a bomb or whatever else that hit collateral damage of innocents that were around the target. It was like a terrorist target that they had, and they killed people, maybe children or whatever. And he's just like, look, they were in the vicinity. It's too bad they were irrelevant. And she's like, no, because she feels like her family then was irrelevant. And he's in Air Force One, and he's looking out the window in total fear. So it's in the air, and he's looking out the window, and his eye bulges. And then we got this splash page as the final page of the entire series of her coming after him. But it looks like the entity is back in her. So again, I'm confused. I'm confused why he changed the rules. I'm confused about why, if the thing embraced her to sacrifice her, again, without knowing what the rules are, and then it didn't die. It's still in her. How did it survive? How did she survive? I'm when everything else was incinerated. So I like the story, but it needs cleaning. It needs a second pair of eyes to come in and clean this up, because it doesn't make any sense. So the answer is yes, but it needs a rewrite. Sorry, J. Michael. You got a mess there. You got a mess. All right, and the final one, we have Blood Commandment by Image Comics with Simon Krodansky. You say that name. But I guess he's a writer and an artist. So he wrote and did the art for this. And again, I don't know why they don't do recaps in the beginning. I mean, it's such a small story that I remember what's going on. And it's about a father and son that go into the wilderness to live because they're hiding from something. The kid doesn't know it, but the father does. And the father is a vampire, and the mother died. But we don't know how, we don't know why, or anything else. And the kid refuses to be a killer. They're hunting deer because he's trying to protect the child, but at the same time, he's trying to enable the child. So he misses on purpose, and he's like, you're mad at me, aren't you, because I missed? And he's like, no, you be your own man. And I thought that was pretty respectful. And the artwork is pretty good in here. It's got this very dark, brooding type of look where it's just black and white, or blue and white, however you want to say it, and with some splashes of red. But anyway, so Vlad, who I guess is his sire, has come after him. And he's like, look, you can't just disappear. You're part of this whole, my thing, and you can't kill me, because if you do, then all the people that I have sired are all going to turn back to human and die. So he kind of mocks the dead wife. Again, I feel like we're missing so many pieces of the story that I'm kind of lost about what their relationship is and everything like that with him and Vlad, and how the wife died and everything like that. So he picks up the cross. Now, why a vampire would have a cross in his house, even to commemorate his wife, is beyond me. So he uses the cross to, even though it's burning him, he puts it on the other guy's face and burns him too, so I guess they're both burning. Meanwhile, the sheriff knows that something's going on at that house, even though it's out of their general jurisdiction, so it's like a couple hours away. So he's driving up there, and he's choking the father, and the son shoots him in the back. So I guess that the son is capable. He just refused not to kill the deer, but he's not refusing to kill what he thinks is a human, right? He doesn't know it's a vampire. Of course, nothing happens. So he pins the guy. It's down here. He pins the guy with the crucifix to the floor. And the guy is badly hurt anyway. And he goes upstairs. He tells the kid to run, but then Vlad follows the kid up the stairs. And the kid prays. I thought this was odd too, because we've never seen any of this. Again, I feel like there's parts missing from all this. And Vlad's just like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. So he finally gets up downstairs and comes up to see his son dead or dying from Vlad. So it's not looking good. And we got this, host of dialogue. You can see just the piles and piles of dialogue. And basically what it says is that he's giving the father a chance to save the son by turning him. And he says, I swore that I would never do this, the whole bit. And he's like, well, you do what you got to do, bro. You do what you do. So meanwhile, the sheriff called into the main office, and he doesn't have a cell phone, but he communicates through the CB radio, and the dispatch woman, tells him to be careful. Anyway, he gets attacked by Vlad. The guy, I guess Vlad's just like everywhere at this point. So, the artwork's nice. But again, it just feels like it's a little over the place. And with, even the face on the dispatch woman, who's also a deputy, I guess, is pretty nice. Anyway, she goes out, even though it's a couple hours away, she goes out after him. And then we switch back. Oh, she sees Vlad jumping. And then again, we get all this dialogue, or inner dialogue, on the splash page. And then at the end, why this is a 2-page splash page, I have no idea. But it is like 20-something pages. 27 pages, something like that, for $3.99. So yeah, so I guess he's deciding on whether he's going to turn his son or not. So, would it make a good movie? There's not enough story here. The story is this big. So I can't say yes. I would say that it's good. You know what it's like? You know what they did with the Disney Plus Werewolf by Night, where it was just like an hour long, where it was just a hunting thing. That's what this would be. This would just be a 1 hour, kind of an episode, and that's it. If that, because it's just not a big enough story. But there's so much missing from this that they could probably add it, but the scope is not big enough because it takes place. It's very contained, extremely contained, and you'd really have to expand on it. So what we're seeing, if we went to a movie, you would have to rewrite it completely. Just total page 1 rewrite. The madness, yes, I like the madness a lot, but it needs to be fixed. I need to know what the rules are because I don't understand what's going on. And Batman and Robin, I like the whole thing with the high school, but the whole thing with Shush doesn't work. So let's see where it goes with Victor Zaz's kid. Maybe that would be better. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching this new episode. Give me the thumbs up or give me the middle finger, whatever you like to do. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then why the hell not? Why have you not subscribed yet? Look at all my tirades I go on. We do movie reviews, we do comic book reviews, and we do board games as well. I'm going to do a couple. I'm going to do a couple tomorrow, I think. Little smaller games, and that's it. So remember that at the end of the month, I have Lords of LA, my vampire mob set in the 50s. We're going to do Late Pledge on that, and then Mark Spears, who does Spawn covers, is going to do. We're doing a joint venture with a card game, so look forward to that. It has classic monsters. We've been doing some play testing. It's going to be lots of fun. And that's about it for me. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you growing the channel with me. And on to the next one. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.